The living room felt too small suddenly, like the walls were closing in. I stood there in my work clothes, briefcase still in my hand, staring at my husband Brandon as he looked at me with eyes that held no love, no regret, just cold indifference. "You've been coming home late every Thursday for 3 months," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite my racing heart. "Your phone is password protected now. You shower the moment you walk in the door. Just tell me the truth, Brandon." He didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. Instead, he leaned back against the kitchen counter, crossed his arms, and let out a short laugh that made my blood run cold. "You really want to do this now, Simone?" he asked, his tone casual, like we were discussing what to have for dinner. "Fine. Yes, I've been seeing someone else. Someone who doesn't make me feel like I'm living in a museum where everything has to be perfect all the time." The briefcase slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a thud. 5 years of marriage. 5 years of supporting his career changes, cooking his favorite meals, being there through his father's death, celebrating his small victories. 5 years of building a life together. How long? I managed to ask, my throat tight. "Does it matter?" He shrugged, actually shrugged, like my pain was inconvenient to him. "Look, I was going to tell you eventually. You're so focused on your design work, your clients, your portfolio. When was the last time you actually looked at me, Simone? Really looked at me?" My hands started shaking. "I work hard because I'm building our future. The future you said you wanted. The house, the security, everything we planned together." "Your future, you mean?" He pushed off from the counter and moved toward the living room, putting distance between us. "I'm tired of living in your shadow. Tired of being the husband of Simone Parker, the successful graphic designer. What about Brandon? What about what I want?" "Then what do you want?" I asked, following him, needing answers even though each word felt like a knife. "What does she give you that I don't?" That's when he turned to face me fully, and I saw it. The look in his eyes wasn't just indifference. It was contempt. How had I missed this? How long had he been looking at me like this? "She makes me feel alive," he said simply. "She laughs at my jokes. She doesn't correct me in front of people. She doesn't have a checklist for everything. She's spontaneous and fun and what?" I cut him off, anger finally breaking through the shock. "And you think you can just throw away 5 years for spontaneous and fun?" Brandon stepped closer, and for a moment I thought I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt maybe, or doubt. But then it was gone, replaced by something harder. "Here's the thing, Simone. You're replaceable. You think you're so special with your big clients and your perfect Pinterest life, but you're not. You know what? I could replace you in 24 hours. Less than that, actually. There are 100 women out there who would jump at the chance to be with me." The words hung in the air between us like poison. I could replace you in 24 hours. Each word was carefully chosen to hurt, to diminish, to erase everything we had been to each other. I stared at him, this man I had loved, this man I had shared my dreams with, my fears with, my body with, and I realized I was looking at a stranger. Maybe I always had been. Maybe I had just been too blind to see it. "Say something," he demanded when I stayed silent. "Cry, yell, throw something. Do that thing you always do." But I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I felt something shift inside me, like a door closing. The pain was still there, sharp and overwhelming, but underneath it was something else. Something cold and clear and focused. "You're right," I said quietly, and I saw confusion cross his face. "I've been too focused on work. Too focused on building a future that you were supposed to be part of. Too focused on being a good wife to a man who clearly never deserved it." "That's not what he started, but I held up my hand. "I'm not done." My voice didn't shake this time. "You can replace me in 24 hours? Fine. You do that, Brandon. You go right ahead. Because here's what you don't understand. You're not replacing me. You're losing me. And trust me when I say this, you're going to spend a lot longer than 24 hours realizing what a mistake that is." His face reddened. "You think you're better than me, don't you? You always have. Walking around here like you're God's gift. Well, in newsflash, Simone, you're not that special. Tiffany doesn't think she's better than everyone else." So that was her name. Tiffany. I filed that information away in the part of my brain that was suddenly working with crystal clarity. "Is she here in Chicago?" I asked calmly. "What does it matter? Does she know you're married?" Brandon's silence answered the question. "So she doesn't know?" I nodded slowly. "You've been lying to her too. At least I know what kind of man you really are now." "This is exactly what I'm talking about," he exploded. "This judgmental attitude. This high and mighty act. You want to know why I went looking elsewhere? Because being with you is exhausting. Everything is a test I'm failing. Every conversation is a reminder of how I'm not measuring up to your standards. I picked up my briefcase from where it had fallen. My hands were steady now, my mind clear. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by a cold determination I had never felt before. You know what, Brandon? You're right about one thing. You were failing. But not because of my standards. Because you never had any of your own. I walked toward the stairs, then paused and looked back at him. Sleep wherever you want tonight. It doesn't matter to me anymore. That's it? He called after me. You're just going to walk away? Not going to fight for us? I turned on the stairs and looked down at him, this man who had just told me I was replaceable, who had betrayed everything we built, who thought so little of me that he could stand there and justify his cheating with a straight face. Fight for us. I repeated. Brandon, there is no us. You killed that the moment you touched another woman. The moment you decided I wasn't worth your loyalty. The moment you thought you could replace me like I was a broken appliance. I paused, letting the words sink in. But here's what's going to keep you up at night. I'm not going to fall apart. I'm not going to beg you to stay. I'm going to be fine. Better than fine. And one day, probably sooner than you think, you're going to see me happy and successful and completely over you. And you're going to realize that you didn't replace me in 24 hours. You lost me forever. I didn't wait for his response. I walked up those stairs with my head high, went into our bedroom, my bedroom now, and closed the door. Only then did I let myself lean against it, sliding down to the floor as the tears finally came. But even through the tears, even through the pain that felt like it was splitting me in two, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I meant every word I said. Brandon thought he could replace me, but he had no idea who he was really dealing with. He had just made the biggest mistake of his life. And I was going to make sure he knew it. The crying lasted maybe 20 minutes. Then I got up, washed my face, and opened my laptop. If Brandon thought I was just going to roll over and accept this, he was in for a surprise. I had built my graphic design business from nothing. I had fought for every client, every project, every success. Fighting for myself? That would be easy. I started making a list. Calm, methodical, organized, all the things Brandon claimed to hate about me. All the things that were about to save me. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? My mind was racing through 5 years of memories, re-examining every moment through this new horrible lens. Had there been signs I missed? Had I been blind, or had he just been that good at hiding it? Around 2 in the morning, I heard Brandon stumbling around downstairs. The front door opened and closed. His car started. He was leaving, probably going to her. To Tiffany. The woman who was spontaneous and fun, who laughed at his jokes, who didn't know he had a wife sitting upstairs with her whole world crumbling around her. I got out of bed and walked to the window, watching his taillights disappear down the street. Good. I needed him gone to do what I had to do. Moving quickly, I went to his home office. Brandon was careless about a lot of things, but he was especially careless about leaving his laptop open. Sure enough, there it was on his desk, screen dark but unlocked. I tapped the mouse and the screen lit up. I told myself I was just looking for information I needed for the divorce. I told myself I wasn't being vindictive, just practical. But when I opened his email and saw months of messages to Tiffany, something inside me went cold. The emails went back 8 months. 8 months of lies. 8 months of him telling her how unhappy he was, how his marriage was basically over, how he was just waiting for the right time to leave. 8 months of planning romantic getaways while I was busy landing new clients to support our lifestyle. One email made me stop cold. It was from 3 weeks ago. Baby, I promise I'll tell her soon. I just need to time it right. The business is doing well and I need to make sure I get my share of everything. She owes me that much after making me feel small for so long. Trust me, once we're together, it'll all be worth it. I read it again. And again. Get his share. His share of what? My business that I built before I even met him? The business I grew through long nights and weekend work while he bounced from job to job, never quite finding his passion? My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't from sadness. It was from pure rage. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures. Every email, every text I could find, every piece of evidence of his affair and his plans to take my money. I created a new folder on my cloud storage and uploaded everything. If he thought he was going to ride off into the sunset with Tiffany and half of everything I'd worked for, he had another thing coming. Next, I checked our bank accounts. We had a joint account for household expenses, but I'd always kept my business account separate. Thank God for that moment of clarity when we first got married. The joint account had about $15,000. I transferred $7,500 to my personal account. Exactly half. Fair and documented. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. Brandon had taken out a credit card in both our names 6 months ago. A credit card I knew nothing about. And it had a balance of $32,000. Charges for hotels, restaurants, jewelry, clothes. He'd been financing his affair with credit card debt in my name. I took pictures of everything. Every statement, every charge, every bit of evidence. By the time the sun started rising, painting the sky pink and orange outside the window, I had a complete picture of my husband's betrayal. It wasn't just about another woman. It was about money, manipulation, and a level of selfishness I never imagined he was capable of. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, starting a new document. I typed everything I knew, everything I'd found, organizing it like I would organize a client presentation. Facts, evidence, timeline. By the time I was done, I had a clear roadmap of what I needed to do. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Nicole. Morning. Coffee this week? Nicole. I needed to talk to Nicole. But first, I needed to make some calls. At exactly 9 o'clock, I called my bank and reported the fraudulent credit card. Then I called a lawyer whose name I'd gotten from a colleague 6 months ago during a conversation I'd never thought I'd need to remember. She'd just gone through a divorce and had raved about her attorney. I'd filed the name away, never imagining I'd be the one needing it. Murphy and Associates, a receptionist answered. Yes, I need to speak with Jennifer Murphy, please. It's about a divorce case. Are you a current client? No, but I was referred by Patricia Holmes. It's urgent. There was a pause. Let me see if she's available. May I have your name? Simone Parker. Another pause, longer this time. Then a new voice came on the line, professional and warm. Miss Parker? This is Jennifer Murphy. Patricia spoke very highly of you. What can I do for you? I took a deep breath. My husband is having an affair. He told me I'm replaceable. And I just found out he's been stealing from me. I need to file for divorce and I need to make sure he doesn't get a penny of what I've built. Can you come in today? I can be there in an hour. I'll clear my schedule. Bring everything you found last night. And Miss Parker? Yes. You did the right thing by documenting everything. Most people wait until it's too late. You're already ahead of the game. I hung up and looked around the kitchen. Brandon and I had picked out these cabinets together, argued about the backsplash, compromised on the countertops. I thought we were building a home, a life. But I'd been building it alone and I just hadn't known it. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Brandon. We need to talk. I deleted the message without responding. We were done talking. Now it was time for action. I showered, dressed in my best professional outfit, a navy suit that made me feel powerful and in control, and grabbed the folder of documents I'd prepared. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. My eyes were red from crying, but there was something else there now. Determination. Strength. Fire. You want to replace me in 24 hours? I said to my reflection. Watch what I can do in less than that. At Jennifer Murphy's office, I laid out everything. She listened without interrupting, taking notes, occasionally nodding. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. Miss Parker, can I call you Simone? Please. Simone, I'm going to be straight with you. This is going to be messy. He's going to fight. He's going to try to make you feel guilty, try to paint himself as the victim. Men like him always do. I don't care. Good. Because here's what we're going to do. She pulled out a legal pad and started writing. First, we file for divorce immediately, citing adultery. In Illinois, that matters. Second, we document every penny of that credit card fraud and file a police report if necessary. Third, we make sure he doesn't have access to any of your business assets. How is your business structured? It's an LLC. In my name only. We never merged finances beyond the joint household account. Smart woman. That's going to save you a lot of trouble. Jennifer looked up at me and I saw respect in her eyes. I have to ask, are you sure you want to do this? Some people want to try counseling, reconciliation. The question made me think of Brandon's face last night. The contempt in his eyes. The casual cruelty in his voice. I could replace you in 24 hours. I'm sure, I said firmly. I don't want him back. I don't want to fix this. I want out and I want to make sure he can't hurt me anymore. Jennifer smiled. Then let's get to work. We spent 3 hours going over everything. By the time I left her office, divorce papers were being drawn up, a motion to freeze the joint account was being filed, and I had a clear plan for the next steps. I sat in my car in the parking garage and finally let myself breathe. Really breathe. For the first time since Brandon said those horrible words, I felt like I could see a path forward. My phone rang. Brandon again. This time I answered. Where are you? He demanded. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. Simone, don't be dramatic. Yes, I messed up, but we can work through this. Every marriage has problems. I almost laughed. He actually thought I was going to forgive him. That I was going to be the understanding wife who took him back after he stuck the knife in and twisted it. Brandon, you told me you could replace me in 24 hours. So go do that. Replace me. Be with Tiffany. Have your spontaneous, fun life. But you're not taking anything that's mine with you. What's that supposed to mean? It means you'll be hearing from my lawyer. Don't come home. I'm having the locks changed. You can't do that. It's my house too. Actually, the house is in my name. I bought it with my down payment from my business before we got married. You might want to check those documents you never bothered to read. That was a bluff. The house was in both our names, but I wanted him worried. Have a nice life, Brandon. I hope Tiffany is worth it. I hung up before he could respond and immediately called a locksmith. Then I called Nicole. Hey girl, what's up? She answered, cheerful as always. Are you free right now? I need you. Her tone changed immediately. What happened? Are you okay? Brandon's been cheating on me for 8 months, and he stole from me, and I'm filing for divorce. Silence. Then, I'm on my way. Don't move. 20 minutes later, Nicole burst into the coffee shop where I'd been waiting, her braids flying behind her, concern written all over her face. She sat down across from me and grabbed my hands. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. I told her about the confrontation, about Brandon's cruel words, about what I'd found in his emails, about the lawyer, about all of it. And Nicole listened the way only a true friend can, with anger on my behalf, with support, with love. When I finished, she squeezed my hands tight. I never liked him, she said flatly. I know I'm supposed to say something supportive right now, but I never liked him. He always had this energy like he was doing you a favor by being with you. And you were always making excuses for him. I started to protest, then stopped. She was right. How many times had I explained away his flakiness, his moodiness, his subtle criticisms? How many times had I convinced myself that I was being too sensitive? I was stupid, I said quietly. No, you were in love. There's a difference. Nicole flagged down the waiter and ordered 2 lattes and a slice of chocolate cake. We're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. And you're going to come out the other side better than ever. You know why? Why? Because you're Simone freaking Parker. You built a successful business from scratch. You're talented, smart, beautiful, and strong as hell. Brandon was lucky to have you for 5 years. And he just threw away the best thing that ever happened to him. She grinned. His loss is the world's gain, honey. Despite everything, I smiled. A real smile. The first one since yesterday. There she is, Nicole said softly. There's my girl. We sat there for hours, drinking coffee, eating cake, planning my next steps. Nicole offered to let me stay with her, but I refused. That house was mine, or would be soon enough. I wasn't going to let Brandon drive me out of my own home. By the time I got back to the house that evening, a new locksmith had been there and left new keys under the mat, exactly where I'd asked. I let myself in and walked through the rooms, seeing everything differently now. This wasn't Brandon's home. It was mine. I had made every major decision about this place. I had decorated it, maintained it, made it beautiful. He just lived in it. I went upstairs to my bedroom and started pulling Brandon's clothes out of the closet. T-shirts, jeans, suits, shoes. Everything went into garbage bags. I worked methodically, erasing him from my space one item at a time. When I was done, I dragged all the bags downstairs and lined them up by the front door. Then I sent Brandon a text. Your things are in bags by the door. You have 24 hours to pick them up. After that, they go to Goodwill. 24 hours. The same time frame he'd given me for replacing me. His response came immediately, you're being crazy. I didn't reply. I just blocked his number and went to bed in clean sheets that I'd put on myself, in a room that was finally mine alone. And for the first time in months, I slept soundly. The next 2 weeks were a blur of activity. I threw myself into work with an intensity that surprised even me. My clients got their projects early. My designs were sharper, more creative, more alive than they'd been in years. It was like removing Brandon from my life had removed a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. Jennifer Murphy worked quickly. The divorce papers were filed and Brandon was served at his office. According to Jennifer, he'd thrown a fit in front of his colleagues, which made me smile grimly. Let him show everyone who he really was. He tried everything to get in touch with me. Phone calls from different numbers, I blocked them all. Emails, they went straight to spam. He even showed up at the house once, but I called the police and he left before they arrived. Jennifer filed a restraining order the next day. He's panicking, she told me during one of our meetings. That's good. Panic makes people sloppy. He's already made several mistakes that are going to help our case. Like what? She showed me a series of emails Brandon's lawyer had sent. In them, Brandon claimed he'd contributed equally to my business, that he deserved compensation for his emotional support and marketing ideas. He also claimed I'd locked him out of the house unfairly and stolen money from the joint account. This is all going to fall apart in court, Jennifer explained. You have documentation showing the business existed before the marriage. You have records of all your business income and expenses that show no contributions from him. You took exactly half of the joint account, which is legal. And the house, well, that's going to be interesting. What do you mean? The down payment came from you, correct? Yes. $30,000 from my business savings. And you can prove that? I have all the bank records. Jennifer smiled. Then even though the house is in both names, we can argue that your initial investment gives you majority equity. Combined with the fact that you've been making the mortgage payments from your business account. Wait, how did you know that? I did my homework. I pulled all the financial records I could access. You've been carrying this marriage financially for years, Simone. The mortgage, the utilities, even his car payment. All coming from your accounts. I sat back stunned. I knew I'd been the primary earner, but seeing it laid out like that in black and white was shocking. Brandon had been living off me for years, and I'd been too busy working to notice. So what does this mean? It means that when we go to court, we're going to show a very clear picture. You built everything, you paid for everything, and he contributed nothing except debt and infidelity. No judge is going to give him half of what you've worked for. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt angry. Angry at Brandon for using me. Angry at myself for letting him. There's something else, Jennifer said, her tone changing. We got the report back from the private investigator. What private investigator? The one I hired to document Brandon's relationship with Tiffany. You said you wanted documentation of the affair for the divorce proceedings. Right. What did they find? Jennifer slid a folder across her desk. I opened it and found myself looking at photographs. Brandon and Tiffany at restaurants, walking hand in hand, kissing outside her apartment building. The photos were dated, showing a timeline of their relationship. But it was the last photo that made my blood run cold. It showed Brandon and Tiffany at what looked like a jewelry store. He was showing her something in a small box. Is that a ring? Jennifer confirmed. He bought it 3 days before you confronted him. We verified it with the store. He paid for it with the credit card in both your names. I stared at the photo. Brandon had been planning to leave me for Tiffany. Maybe even marry her. And he'd used my credit to buy her engagement ring. Does she know? I asked quietly. About me? About the fact that he's still married? According to the investigator, no. He's been telling her he's divorced. That's why he was taking his time telling you. He was waiting for the divorce to go through so he could pretend to Tiffany that it had already happened. I closed the folder, my hands shaking. Brandon wasn't just a cheater. He was a liar on multiple levels, deceiving everyone in his life. I want everything, I said, looking up at Jennifer. I want the house. I want him to pay back every penny of that credit card. I want him to leave with nothing. We'll do our best, but... No. I cut her off. Not our best. I want it all. He tried to destroy me, tried to steal from me, lied to everyone around him. I'm not going to be nice about this. I'm not going to be understanding. He wanted to replace me in 24 hours? Let him try to do it with nothing. Jennifer studied me for a moment, then nodded. Okay. Then that's what we'll fight for. When I left her office that day, I felt different. Harder. More focused. The sadness was still there, buried deep, but on top of it was something new. Purpose. I went home and did something I'd been putting off. I called my family. My mother answered on the second ring. Simone? Baby, how are you? It's been weeks since we talked. Mom, I need to tell you something. What's wrong? You sound strange. Brandon and I are getting divorced. Silence. Then, what happened? I told her everything. Well, not everything. I left out the cruel words, the credit card fraud, the depth of the betrayal. I just told her he'd been cheating and we were done. I never trusted that man, she said, and I almost laughed. Nicole had said the same thing. How many people had seen what I was too blind to see? Why didn't you say anything? Because you loved him. And sometimes people need to learn lessons the hard way. She sighed. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I'm okay, Mom. I'm handling it. Of course you are. You're my daughter. Pride filled her voice. You've always been strong. Even when you were a little girl, you never let anything keep you down for long. We talked for another hour. She told me about my younger brother's new job, about the church bake sale, about the neighbor's new puppy. Normal things. Safe things. Things that reminded me that life would go on even after this. After I hung up, I sat in the quiet house and let myself think about the future for the first time. What did I want? Not just from the divorce but from life? I wanted my business to grow. I wanted to buy a place that was entirely mine. I wanted to travel, something Brandon had always resisted because of the cost. I wanted to wake up happy again. And slowly I started to believe that maybe I could have those things. Maybe Brandon leaving, as painful as it was actually the best thing that could have happened to me. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Tiffany. We need to talk." I stared at the message for a long time. How did she get my number? What did she want? Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let her figure out who Brandon really was on her own. But another part of me, the part that was tired of lies and games, wanted to respond. Wanted to tell her exactly what she'd gotten herself into. I typed back, "I have nothing to say to you." Her response came quickly, "Please. I just found out he's still married." I didn't know. He told me he was divorced. So she knew now. Good. Let her deal with the lies too. "That's not my problem," I typed. "I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I would never have if I'd known." I deleted the conversation. I didn't want her apology. I didn't want her excuses. I wanted her and Brandon to deal with the mess they'd created without involving me. The next few days passed in a similar pattern. Work during the day, meetings with Jennifer in the evening, long nights organizing my finances and planning my future. Brandon kept trying to reach out through various means, but I ignored everything. Then, exactly 3 weeks after he told me I was replaceable, I got a call from Jennifer. "Simone, you need to hear this. Brandon's lawyer just called. He wants to settle." Settle? We just filed. Apparently things aren't going well for him. I'm not sure of all the details, but they want to negotiate before we get to court. What are they offering? "He'll give up claim to the house and your business if you agree to pay off half the joint credit card and not pursue charges for fraud." I laughed. Actually laughed. He's offering to give up things that aren't his in exchange for me paying off his debt? Is he serious? That's what I said. I told them we'd get back to them. Tell them no. Tell them we're going to court and we're going to show every judge and everyone in that courtroom exactly what kind of man Brandon is. "Simone, are you sure? Court means everything becomes public. Your finances, his affair, all of it." "I'm sure. Let him be embarrassed. Let Tiffany see what she's really getting. Let everyone know who he really is." "All right then. We go to court." That night I slept better than I had in weeks. Because for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like I was taking control. Not just reacting but acting. Brandon thought he could use me, discard me, and walk away with half of everything. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. The week before our first court date, I discovered something that changed everything. I was going through old files, organizing paperwork for Jennifer, when I found a folder I'd forgotten about. It was from 2 years ago, when Brandon had asked me to co-sign a business loan for a sure-thing investment opportunity. I'd refused. I remembered that argument clearly. Brandon had been furious, saying I didn't believe in him, that I was holding him back. Eventually he dropped it and I'd assumed he'd given up on the idea. But there, in that folder, was a loan application. In both our names. With my forged signature. My hands went numb. I pulled out the document and stared at it. It was my signature, or close enough that I could see how a bank might accept it, but the angle was wrong. The pressure of the pen was different. This wasn't me signing. I grabbed my phone and called Jennifer immediately. "I found something," I said as soon as she answered. "Another fraud. Bigger than the credit card." "What is it?" "A business loan. $35,000. He forged my signature." "Are you certain it's a forgery?" "Positive. I refused to co-sign this loan. We had a huge fight about it. I never signed anything." "Do you have proof that you refused?" I thought back. I sent him an email. Let me check. I pulled up my old emails and searched for the date on the loan application. There it was. An email from me to Brandon, clearly stating that I wouldn't co-sign any loan for his business venture, that we'd discussed it and I'd decided it was too risky. The loan application was dated 3 days after that email. I have an email where I specifically said I wouldn't sign it, dated 3 days before the application. "Send it to me now." "And the loan application." "Simone, this is serious. This isn't just divorce court material. This is criminal fraud." "I know. Do you want to press charges?" I thought about Brandon, about his smug face when he told me I was replaceable, about the months of lies and betrayal. About the fact that he'd been willing to ruin my credit, my reputation, my financial future for his own gain. Yes, I want to press charges. Okay. Let me contact the prosecutor's office. But Simone, once we do this, there's no going back. This could mean jail time for him. Good. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. I have to ask, are you doing this because you want justice or because you want revenge? I thought about her question. Really thought about it. Was I being vindictive? Was I letting my anger control me? No. This wasn't about revenge. This was about consequences. Brandon had committed a crime. He'd forged my signature and taken out a loan in my name. If I let that go, what message did it send? That he could do whatever he wanted without facing any real repercussions? Justice, I said firmly. He committed a crime. He needs to face the consequences. All right. Then let's move forward. 2 days later, Brandon was arrested at work. Jennifer called me with the news and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness, no guilt. Just a sense of things finally being made right. The arrest made everything more complicated. The divorce proceedings were temporarily paused while the criminal case moved forward. Jennifer assured me this was actually good for us. It meant Brandon would be too busy defending himself against fraud charges to fight me for the house or my business. But then things took an unexpected turn. Tiffany called me again. Please don't hang up, she said quickly when I answered. I just need 5 minutes. Why should I give you anything? Because Brandon lied to both of us. Because I'm pregnant. The world tilted. What? I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. And Brandon's been arrested and his lawyer says he might go to jail, and I don't know what to do. Her voice cracked. I know you hate me. You have every right to hate me. But I didn't know he was married. I swear I didn't know. I sat down heavily on my couch. Tiffany was pregnant with Brandon's child. The man who told me we should wait to have kids, that we needed to be more financially stable first. The man who'd apparently been more than stable enough to plan a whole new family with someone else. That's not my problem, I said coldly. I know it's not. But I just found out about the loan fraud, about everything he did to you. And I realized I don't know him at all. I thought I did. I thought we were building something real. But he's been lying about everything. Welcome to my world. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I had known. But you didn't ask, I cut her off. You didn't question why a man was so eager to jump into a serious relationship. You didn't ask to see divorce papers. You just believed what you wanted to believe. You're right. She was crying now. You're absolutely right. I was stupid and selfish and I helped him hurt you, even if I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry, Simone. Hearing my name from her mouth made my skin crawl. Don't call me again. Deal with Brandon on your own. That's not my life anymore. I hung up and blocked her number. Then I did something I hadn't let myself do in weeks. I cried. Not for Brandon, not for my marriage, but for the sheer unfairness of it all. He'd moved on so easily, so quickly. He was having a baby with someone else. He'd stolen from me, lied to me, treated me like I was nothing. And yet, I was the one who'd had to be strong. I was the one who'd had to organize and document and fight. I was the one who'd had to rebuild while he just moved on to his next victim. The crying lasted longer this time. When Nicole called an hour later and heard my voice, she was at my door within 20 minutes. Talk to me, she said, pulling me into a hug. I told her everything. The loan, the arrest, Tiffany's pregnancy, all of it. That bastard, Nicole said when I finished. That absolute bastard. She's pregnant, Nicole. He's having a baby with her. And what does that have to do with you? Nothing. It has nothing to do with me. That's what makes it so awful. My whole life got blown up and he just gets to move forward like nothing happened. Nicole grabbed my shoulders and made me look at her. Listen to me. Brandon's life is falling apart. He got arrested at work. His affair partner just found out he's a liar and a thief. He's facing criminal charges. He's about to lose everything in the divorce. And if he goes to jail? Good luck being a present father from prison. You think he'll actually go to jail? With that evidence? Yeah, I think he might. Fraud isn't something judges take lightly. She softened. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you're winning, Simone. You're getting out of this marriage with your dignity, your business, and your future intact. He's getting exactly what he deserves. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to feel like I was winning. But all I felt was tired. Stay here tonight, I said to Nicole. I don't want to be alone. I'm not going anywhere. We ordered pizza, watched terrible reality TV, and didn't talk about Brandon once. It was exactly what I needed. The next morning, I woke up to find Nicole had made breakfast and was sitting at my kitchen table with her laptop. "What are you doing?" I asked, pouring coffee. "Research. I'm looking up that business loan. The one Brandon took out with your forged signature." "Why?" "Because I want to know what happened to the money." "Don't you?" I hadn't thought about that. I'd been so focused on the forgery itself that I hadn't considered where the $35,000 went. "Can you find that out?" "Maybe." "Do you know what bank it was through?" I pulled up the loan document on my phone and showed her. Nicole's fingers flew across her keyboard. "Okay, so this was through First National Bank. And according to the public records, the business it was supposed to fund was called Momentum Marketing Solutions." She looked up at me. "Ever heard of it?" "No." She kept typing. "Okay, so Momentum Marketing Solutions was registered as an LLC 2 years ago. Owner listed as Brandon Parker. There's no website, no social media presence, nothing. It's a ghost company." "What does that mean?" "It means he created a fake business to get the loan, then probably pocketed the money." I sat down next to her, staring at the screen. "All of it?" "Probably. Let me see if I can find any business expenses." More typing. "No business tax returns filed. No business bank account that I can find. No expenses claimed. Simone, I think he just took that $35,000 and spent it on himself." "On Tiffany, you mean?" Nicole looked at me. "Yeah, probably on Tiffany." I thought about the jewelry, the trips, the expensive restaurants, and the credit card statements. Brandon had been living a double life, and he'd been funding it with stolen money. "I need to tell Jennifer about this," I said. "Already sent her an email with everything I found." "You're a good friend, you know that?" "I know." She grinned. "And when this is all over, you're going to buy me a very expensive dinner to thank me." Despite everything, I smiled. "Deal." The investigation into the loan revealed exactly what Nicole had suspected. Brandon had created a fake business, taken out a loan in both our names, and spent the money on his affair. The prosecutor added additional charges of fraud and embezzlement. His lawyer tried to make a deal, but the prosecutor wasn't interested. Not with evidence this clear. The divorce proceedings resumed, and this time Brandon didn't fight. He couldn't. His lawyer advised him to agree to my terms. I'd get the house, my business, and he'd be responsible for all the debt in exchange for me not pursuing additional civil charges. Jennifer advised me to take the deal. "We've won," she said. "He's facing criminal charges, he's losing everything in the divorce, and you get to move on with your life. That's as good as it gets." She was right. I signed the settlement agreement. 1 month later, the divorce was finalized. I was officially single. Brandon was officially broke. And justice, it seemed, had been served. But it didn't feel like victory yet. It just felt like the end of a very long, very painful chapter. The real victory, I was starting to realize, would come in what I built next. The day the divorce was finalized, I woke up and looked at the ceiling of my bedroom, not our bedroom, my bedroom, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. It wasn't joy exactly, not yet. But it was the absence of the constant anxiety that had been my companion since that awful night when Brandon told me I was replaceable. For the first time in a long time, I didn't wake up with my stomach in knots, didn't immediately reach for my phone to see what fresh hell was waiting for me. I got up, made coffee, and sat on my back porch watching the sun rise. The house was quiet. Empty. What? My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. "Congratulations. You're free." Free. Such a simple word, but it felt enormous. I had a client meeting that afternoon, so I showered and dressed with extra care. I wanted to look not just professional but powerful. In control. I chose a burgundy blouse, black slacks, and the heels that always made me feel like I could take on the world. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different, though I'd lost weight during the stress of the past few months, but because of the look in my eyes. There was a hardness there that hadn't existed before. A strength forged in fire. The client meeting went better than I could have hoped. It was a mid-sized tech company looking for a complete brand redesign. The kind of project that could really put my business on the map. "We've been following your work," the CEO said, a woman named Patricia with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "Your portfolio is impressive. But what really caught our attention was this." She pulled up an article on her tablet. It was a local business magazine piece from last week, featuring successful solo entrepreneurs. I'd been interviewed for it about a month ago, before the divorce was finalized, talking about building a business as a woman in a male-dominated field. I'd forgotten about it entirely. You talked about overcoming obstacles and not letting other people's limitations define your success, Patricia continued. That resonated with us. We're a company that's fighting to be taken seriously in a crowded market. We need someone who understands that battle. I got the contract. 6 figures. The biggest project I'd ever landed. I called Nicole from the parking lot. I got it. The tech company? Yes. And Nicole, the contract is huge. This is going to change everything for my business. That's amazing. We need to celebrate. Tonight. Drinks on you since you're rolling in it now. I laughed. Deal. But nowhere too fancy. I'm tired. How about that wine bar on 3rd Street? The one with the good cheese plates. Perfect. 8 o'clock. I'll be there. I started the car but didn't drive immediately. Instead, I sat there letting it sink in. 3 months ago, my entire world had fallen apart. And now I had a finalized divorce, a clean financial slate, and the biggest contract of my career. Maybe I really was going to be okay. That evening at the wine bar, Nicole and I toasted with expensive Pinot Noir. To new beginnings, she said, raising her glass. To being free, I added. We clinked glasses and drank. The wine was smooth, rich, and tasted like possibility. So, Nicole said after we'd ordered our cheese plate. What's next? Now that the divorce drama is over, what do you want to do with your life? I've been thinking about this. I want to travel. I want to go somewhere I've never been and just breathe. No work, no stress, no ex-husband drama. Just me and a beach and a good book. Okay, so where? I was thinking Costa Rica. I've always wanted to go. Then book it. Life's too short to wait. She was right. I pulled out my phone and, right there at the wine bar, booked a week-long trip to Costa Rica for the following month. A little beach house, close to the ocean, far from everything. Done, I said, showing Nicole the confirmation. 1 week of paradise coming up. I'm so proud of you, Nicole said suddenly, her eyes getting misty. You went through hell and you came out the other side stronger. A lot of people would have broken. But not you. I had you, I said. I couldn't have done this without you. Oh please, you did all the hard work. I just showed up with wine and moral support. That was exactly what I needed. We spent the rest of the evening talking about everything except Brandon. My new project, Nicole's job, the upcoming holidays, life. Normal things. Easy things. When I got home that night, slightly tipsy and definitely happy, I found an envelope that had been slipped under my door. No return address, just my name written in handwriting I recognized immediately. Brandon. My good mood evaporated. I stood in the hallway staring at that envelope, debating whether to just throw it away unopened. But curiosity won. I opened it. Inside was a letter, handwritten on notebook paper. Simone. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I did to you, everything I put you through. I was an idiot. A selfish, cruel idiot. You deserved so much better than how I treated you. You deserved honesty and loyalty and love, and I gave you lies and betrayal and contempt. I've lost everything. My job, because who wants to employ someone arrested for fraud? Tiffany, because she finally saw who I really am. My freedom, because the judge said I'm probably looking at prison time. Everything. But that's not why I'm writing. I'm not looking for sympathy. I just wanted you to know that you were right. That night when you said I'd realize what I lost, you were right. I lost the best thing in my life, and I did it with my own stupidity and arrogance. I know you're going to be successful. I know you're going to build an amazing life without me. And I know I'm going to spend the rest of my life regretting that I'm not part of it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve the chance to ask for it. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand. You weren't replaceable. You were irreplaceable. And I was too stupid to see it until it was too late. I hope you find happiness. I hope you find someone who treats you the way you deserve to be treated. I hope you forget I ever existed. Brandon. I read the letter twice. Then I walked to the kitchen, turned on the gas stove, and burned it. I watched the paper curl and blacken, watched Brandon's words turn to ash. Too little, too late. His apology didn't change anything. It didn't undo the hurt, didn't erase the betrayal, didn't fix what he'd broken. It was just words, and words were easy. When the letter was nothing but ash in my sink, I washed it down the drain and went to bed. The next week, I threw myself into the new project with an intensity that surprised even me. The tech company wanted something bold, something that would make them stand out. I gave them 3 different concepts, each more innovative than the last. They loved all of them but chose the boldest one, a complete visual overhaul that incorporated interactive elements and a fresh, modern aesthetic. It was the kind of work I'd always wanted to do but had been afraid to pitch before. "This is exactly what we needed," Patricia told me in our follow-up meeting. "You understand us. You get what we're trying to do." "I understand fighting to be seen," I said. "I understand proving yourself when everyone thinks you don't belong." She smiled. "Then we're going to work very well together." As the project progressed, I found myself working longer hours than I had in years. But unlike before, when long hours had meant stress and exhaustion, now they meant excitement and creative fulfillment. I was doing work I was proud of, work that challenged me, work that mattered. And for the first time in my life, I was doing it entirely for myself. Not to support a partner, not to prove anything to anyone, just because I loved it. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from an unknown number. Usually I didn't answer those, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Is this Simone Parker?" A professional female voice. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Dr. Rachel Foster. I'm a therapist and I'm calling because I think you might benefit from speaking with someone about what you've been through." "I'm fine, thanks." "I'm sure you are. But Simone, going through a divorce like yours, the betrayal, the fraud, the court proceedings, that's traumatic. Even if you're handling it well, it can help to talk to someone. Did Jennifer give you my number?" Pause. "She thought you might benefit from my services. But the decision is entirely yours." I almost hung up. I was fine. I was handling things. I didn't need therapy. But then I thought about the nightmares I'd been having. The way my heart still raced when I saw someone who looked like Brandon from behind. The way I couldn't quite trust anyone new I met, always looking for hidden motives. "Okay," I heard myself say. "Maybe one session. How about tomorrow at 2? I'll be there." The therapy session was harder than I expected. Dr. Foster didn't push, didn't pry, just let me talk. And once I started, I couldn't stop. Everything came pouring out: the betrayal, the anger, the fear, the sadness, the small moments of victory that felt hollow, the big wins that I couldn't quite celebrate. "You're grieving," she said gently when I finally stopped. "Not just the loss of your marriage, but the loss of the future you thought you had. The loss of trust. The loss of the person you were before this happened." "I don't want to be that person anymore," I said. She was too trusting. Too naive. Maybe. Or maybe she just loved someone who didn't deserve it. "That's not a flaw in you, Simone. That's a flaw in him." I started seeing Dr. Foster twice a week. In those sessions, I learned that being strong didn't mean not feeling the pain. It meant feeling it and moving forward anyway. "You've been in survival mode since Brandon told you about the affair," she explained. "Now it's time to start healing mode. Those are different things." She was right. I'd been so focused on getting through each day, on winning the divorce, on protecting myself, that I hadn't let myself really process what happened. I'd been running on adrenaline and anger for months. It was time to slow down. To feel. To heal. As my trip to Costa Rica approached, I found myself actually getting excited. Not just to escape, but to experience something new. To be somewhere where nobody knew my story, where I was just Simone, not divorced Simone, not betrayed Simone, just Simone. The day before I left, I did one final thing. I changed the locks on the house again. Not because I was afraid Brandon would come back, but because I wanted a completely fresh start. New locks, new keys, new beginning. Standing in my house with the new keys in my hand, I felt it. That thing I'd been chasing for months. Victory. Not because Brandon had lost, though he had. Not because I'd won in court, though I had. But because I'd survived. I'd rebuilt. I'd reclaimed my life. And that night, packing for Costa Rica, I caught myself humming. Actually humming, happy and light. I was going to be more than okay. I was going to be great. Costa Rica was everything I needed and nothing I expected. The beach house I'd rented was small but perfect: white walls, blue shutters, and a porch that overlooked the ocean. I could hear the waves from every room. The first 2 days I did nothing but sleep. I'd been running on fumes for so long that my body needed to shut down and reset. I slept 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours a day, waking only to eat fruit from the local market and walk barefoot on the beach. By the third day, I started to feel human again. Really human, not just functioning human. I woke early and watched the sunrise from my porch, coffee in hand. The sky turned from deep purple to pink to orange to that brilliant blue that only exists near the ocean. I'd never taken the time to watch a sunrise before. Brandon had always said waking up early on vacation was a waste. Brandon. I caught myself thinking his name and deliberately pushed it away. This trip wasn't about him. It was about me. I spent that day exploring the small town near my rental. There was a market with fresh mangoes and papayas, a tiny bookstore run by an American expat named Gloria, and a surf shop where a local teenager tried to convince me to take lessons. "You have good balance," he said, eyeing me critically. "I can tell." "How can you tell?" He grinned. "I just can. Come back tomorrow morning. First lesson free." "Why not?" I thought. When was I going to get another chance to learn to surf? "Okay," I said. "Tomorrow morning." His grin widened. 6 a.m. Don't be late. The next morning I stood on a surfboard for the first time in my life. And promptly fell off. Again. And again. And again. "You're thinking too much," my instructor, his name was Miguel, shouted from the water. "Stop thinking. Just feel. Stop thinking. Just feel." If only it were that easy. But by the end of the lesson, I'd managed to stand up for a full 3 seconds before wiping out. Miguel acted like I'd won an Olympic medal. "You see? I told you. Good balance." He high-fived me enthusiastically. "Same time tomorrow?" I found myself laughing. "Sure. Why not?" I went back every morning for the rest of the week. By my last lesson, I could actually ride a small wave all the way to shore. It wasn't pretty, but it was exhilarating. "You're a natural," Miguel said, though I suspected he said that to all his students. "You should move here, open a surf shop. You'd be good at it." "I have a business back home." "What kind of business?" "Graphic design." "Ah, you're an artist?" "Even better. Artists need to surf. It opens the mind." That evening, I sat on the beach watching the sunset, another thing I'd never done before, and thought about Miguel's words. "You're an artist." When had I stopped thinking of myself that way? Somewhere along the line, I'd started thinking of my work as just a job, a way to make money. But it was more than that. It was creative expression. It was art. Brandon had never understood that. He'd seen my design work as a product, something to be monetized and leveraged. He'd never understood the joy of creating something beautiful just because it could exist. I pulled out my phone and started sketching on my design app. Not for a client, not for a project, just for me. Waves and colors and movement. I lost track of time, my fingers moving across the screen, creating something that felt alive. When I finally stopped, the sun had fully set and the beach was dark except for the light from my phone. I looked at what I'd created, an abstract piece that somehow captured how I felt right then. Free. Wild. Full of motion. I saved it and titled it Rebirth. On my last night in Costa Rica, I went to a small restaurant Miguel had recommended. It was crowded and loud, full of tourists and locals mixing together. I sat at the bar, ordered fresh fish and rice, and just observed. That's when I noticed him. He was sitting at a table near the window, working on a laptop despite the noise around him. He had deep brown skin, close-cropped hair, and the kind of focused expression that suggested he'd forgotten where he was. Every few minutes, he'd look up, take a sip of his beer, then dive back into whatever he was working on. "That's Devin," the bartender said, noticing me looking. "He's here every Tuesday. Architect from Chicago. Comes down for a few weeks every year to work on designs. Says the beach inspires him." Chicago. Small world. I turned back to my meal, but I was aware of Devin in my peripheral vision. There was something peaceful about his presence, like he was completely comfortable being alone in a crowded place. When he finally closed his laptop and stood to leave, he glanced my direction. Our eyes met for a second, and he smiled, just a polite, friendly smile before heading out. I didn't think about it again until I was on the plane home the next day. Then for some reason that smile stuck with me. Not in a romantic way, just in a human way. A reminder that there were good people in the world. People who could sit in a restaurant and smile at a stranger without agenda or expectation. Back in Chicago, I threw myself into work with renewed energy. The Costa Rica trip had given me perspective and creative fuel. The tech company project was going better than expected, and my designs were getting attention in industry circles. 2 weeks after I got back, I got an email from Patricia. "Simone, I shared your work with a colleague who runs a startup incubator. They're looking for someone to do branding for all their new companies. Interested?" Was I interested? This was the kind of opportunity that could take my business from successful to exceptional. "Absolutely," I replied. The meeting with the incubator was scheduled for the following week. I prepared like I was going to war, portfolio polished, pitch practiced, outfit selected for maximum impact. The presentation went flawlessly. By the end, I had a contract for ongoing work with multiple startups. It would mean more income, more exposure, and more creative challenges than I could handle alone. I needed to hire help. The idea terrified and excited me in equal measure. Bringing someone else into my business meant trusting them, delegating, giving up some control. All things that felt impossible after what Brandon had done. But Dr. Foster had been working with me on this. Not everyone is Brandon, she reminded me. You can build your business and protect yourself at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. So I posted a job listing for a junior designer. Applications flooded in. I interviewed 5 candidates, all qualified, all enthusiastic. I hired a young woman named Kira who had just graduated from design school. She was talented, hungry to learn, and reminded me of myself 10 years ago. She started the following Monday. "I can't believe I get to work with you," she said on her first day. "I've been following your work for years. You're like my idol." Idol. That felt strange. I'd never thought of myself as someone others would look up to. "Less idol worship, more designing," I said, but I was smiling. "I have a project that needs fresh eyes. You up for it?" Her face lit up. "Absolutely." Working with Kira reminded me why I loved design in the first place. Her enthusiasm was infectious, her ideas were fresh, and she challenged me to push my own boundaries. Within weeks, we'd fallen into an easy rhythm. One afternoon, she came into my office looking hesitant. "What's up?" I asked. "Can I ask you something personal?" I tensed automatically. "Depends on what it is." "How do you balance work and life? Like, you're so successful and you seem so together, and I just wonder how you do it all." I almost laughed. "Together? Me? The woman who'd spent the last 6 months putting her life back together after it had been demolished?" But then I realized to Kira, I did look together. I had a successful business, a nice house, confidence. She didn't see the late nights questioning everything, the therapy sessions, the work I was still doing to trust again. "Honestly," I said, "I don't balance it. I just do the next thing in front of me. Some days that's work. Some days it's taking care of myself. Some days it's both. And some days it's neither, and I just survive until tomorrow." She seemed to relax. "So you don't have it all figured out?" "Nobody has it all figured out. We're all just pretending we do." "That makes me feel better, actually." "Good. Now let's get back to work. These logos won't design themselves." 3 months after my divorce was finalized, I hit a milestone I'd been working toward for years. My business broke $1 million in annual revenue. $1 million. From a business I'd built from nothing, through sheer determination and talent. Nicole insisted we celebrate properly this time. She planned a whole evening dinner at a fancy restaurant, drinks at a rooftop bar, and a midnight showing of my favorite movie. "You've earned this," she said, hugging me tight. "You took the worst year of your life and turned it into your best year professionally. That's incredible." "I had help," I said, hugging her back. "I couldn't have done this without you." "Oh please. I just provided moral support and wine. You did all the hard work." At dinner, Nicole raised her glass. "To Simone Parker. Survivor. Fighter. Success story. To moving forward," I added. We clinked glasses and drank, and for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. Not just okay, not just surviving, but actually happy. After dinner, we were walking to the rooftop bar when I literally bumped into someone coming out of a coffee shop. "I'm so sorry," I started, then stopped. It was Devin, the architect from Costa Rica. "No, that was my fault," he said, then paused. "Wait, were you in Costa Rica last month? At that restaurant?" "Yes." "You were working on your laptop." He laughed. "Guilty. I'm Devin." He held out his hand. "Simone." I shook it, then gestured to Nicole. "This is my friend Nicole. Nice to meet you both. Are you from Chicago?" "Yeah, been here my whole life." "You moved here 5 years ago for work. Still getting used to the winters." He smiled, that same easy smile from the restaurant. "Small world running into you here." "Definitely." There was a pause, not quite awkward but not quite smooth. "Well, I should let you get back to your evening," Devin said. "But it was nice meeting you properly this time." "You too." He walked away and Nicole immediately grabbed my arm. "He's cute," she hissed. "Stop it. I'm just saying. And he's an architect. That's like a real grown-up job. I'm not interested." "You should be. When was the last time you even looked at a man?" "I'm happy alone, Nicole. I don't need anyone." "I didn't say you needed anyone. I said you should be open to meeting someone. There's a difference." I thought about it as we continued walking. Was I open to meeting someone? Or had Brandon broken that part of me permanently? I didn't have an answer. At the rooftop bar, I excused myself to use the restroom. On my way back, I noticed someone sitting alone at the bar, looking familiar. It was Devin again. He saw me and waved. "We have to stop meeting like this," he joked. I laughed. Are you following me? Would you believe that I actually live in the building next door and come here all the time? Okay, that's actually a weird coincidence. Tell me about it. He gestured to the empty seat next to him. Want to join me for a drink? Unless you're with your friend. I glanced back at our table. Nicole was watching with barely concealed glee, giving me enthusiastic thumbs up. One drink, I said, sitting down. We talked for 2 hours. About architecture and design, about Chicago and Costa Rica, about work and life. He was easy to talk to, funny without trying too hard, interested without being intrusive. So what brought you to Costa Rica? He asked. I needed to get away after a difficult year. He nodded, not pushing for details. It's a good place for that. I've been going there for 5 years now. Something about the ocean just clears your head, you know? Exactly. Are you seeing anyone? He asked, then immediately looked embarrassed. Sorry, that was forward. You don't have to answer that. No, it's okay. I'm not. Recently divorced, actually. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was the best thing that could have happened to me, actually. He raised his eyebrows. That's a healthy way to look at it. It took some time to get there. But yeah, I'm better off now. Well, their loss. He said it simply, like it was obvious. Something about that statement made me like him. Not romantically, not yet, but as a person. He didn't pry, didn't try to play therapist, just accepted what I'd said and moved on. When I finally rejoined Nicole, she was practically bouncing. Tell me everything. There's nothing to tell. We just talked. For 2 hours. He's nice. That's it. Did he ask for your number? Actually, he had. Right before I left, he'd said, I'd like to see you again. Maybe get coffee sometime? No pressure. I'd given him my number. Not because I was looking for romance, but because I'd enjoyed talking to him. Because it had felt normal and easy and nice. Maybe, I admitted to Nicole. She squealed. This is great. You're putting yourself out there. I'm really not. I'm just open to making a new friend. Sure. Friend. Nicole winked. Whatever you say. That night, lying in bed, I thought about the evening. The celebration of my business success, the surprise of running into Devin twice, the ease of our conversation. For the first time since Brandon, I could imagine maybe, someday being open to something. Not now, not soon, but eventually. It was progress. Fall turned to winter, and Chicago transformed into a frozen wonderland that I'd forgotten could be beautiful. I'd been so miserable during my marriage that I'd stopped noticing the city around me. Now, walking to client meetings or coffee shops, I found myself appreciating things I'd overlooked before: the architecture, the energy, the way snow made everything look clean and new. My business was thriving. The startup incubator work led to referrals, which led to more referrals. I was turning down projects because I didn't have capacity, which felt amazing and terrifying at the same time. You need to hire another person, Kira said one afternoon, buried under sketches and mock-ups. We can't keep up with demand. She was right. So I hired again, this time a more experienced designer named Andre who'd been laid off when his agency downsized. He brought expertise I didn't have, particularly in digital animation and interactive design. Suddenly I had a real team. Small but real. We moved out of my home office and into a proper studio space in a converted warehouse in West Loop. It had exposed brick, huge windows, and room to grow. Standing in the empty space before we moved our equipment in, I felt a surge of pride so intense it brought tears to my eyes. This was mine. I built this. Not we, not Brandon and I, just me. Devin and I had been texting occasionally, casual conversation, nothing serious. He'd ask about my work, I'd ask about his projects. We'd share funny observations about Chicago winter. Easy. Comfortable. One evening in December, he texted, I have an extra ticket to an architecture lecture tomorrow night. Interested? I promise it's less boring than it sounds. I almost said no. I had work to finish, designs to review, a comfortable evening at home planned. But Dr. Foster's voice echoed in my head. It's okay to say yes to things just because they sound interesting. Not everything has to be about work or healing. Sometimes things can just be for fun. Sure, I texted back. What time? The lecture was actually fascinating, a discussion of how Chicago architecture influenced modern urban design. Devin sat next to me, occasionally leaning over to whisper context or amusing observations. That building he's talking about? The architect was drunk during half the design process, he whispered during one section. You're making that up. I swear I'm not. It's a famous story in architecture circles. Afterward, we grabbed dinner at a nearby restaurant. The conversation flowed like it had before, easy, interesting, punctuated by laughter. Can I ask you something? Devin said over dessert. Sure. Why did your marriage end? You mentioned it was difficult, but you never said why. He held up his hands. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I thought about it. Usually when people asked, I gave a sanitized version. We grew apart, or, it wasn't working out. Safe, vague, polite. But something about Devin's open, honest expression made me want to tell the truth. He cheated on me. For 8 months. And when I confronted him, he told me I was replaceable. That he could replace me in 24 hours. Devin's face hardened. He said that. Yeah. Then I found out he'd been stealing from me, took out loans in my name, planning to take half of everything I'd built. I shrugged, trying to keep it light. So I divorced him, pressed charges, and took everything instead. Good for you. The best part? He apologized later, said he realized what he'd lost. But by then I didn't care anymore. I'd already moved on. Devin was quiet for a moment, then said, my ex-wife cheated too. Different circumstances, we didn't have the financial complications you had, but I understand that betrayal. That feeling of wondering how you missed all the signs. I didn't know you were married. 3 years. Divorced for 5 now. She left me for someone else, and honestly, within a year I realized she did me a favor. I'd been so focused on trying to make her happy that I'd forgotten to make myself happy. That's exactly it, I said, feeling understood in a way I hadn't expected. I spent years trying to be what he needed, and I lost myself in the process. But you found yourself again. I did. And I like who I am now better than who I was then. He raised his glass of wine. To becoming the people we were meant to be. I clinked my glass against his. I'll drink to that. Walking back to my car later, Devin said, I had a really nice time tonight. Me too. Can I be honest about something? Sure. I'd like to see you again. And not just as friends. I'm attracted to you, Simone. But I also understand if you're not ready for that. We can take this as slow as you need, or we can just stay friends. Whatever you're comfortable with. His directness was refreshing. No games, no pressure, just honesty. I'm not ready for anything serious, I said carefully. I'm still figuring out who I am outside of my marriage. But I like spending time with you. Maybe we can just see where things go? Without any expectations. He smiled. I can work with that. Over the next few months, Devin and I fell into an easy pattern. Dinner once or twice a week, occasional weekend activities, a museum exhibit, a concert, ice skating in Millennium Park. He never pushed for more than I was willing to give, never made me feel pressured or rushed. It was nice. Comfortable. Safe. Nicole, of course, had opinions. You like him, she said during one of our coffee dates. Of course I like him. He's nice. No, you like him. I can tell. I'm not ready for that yet. Okay, but when will you be ready? It's been almost a year since Brandon. At some point you have to take a risk again. Why? Why do I have to? I'm happy as I am. Are you though? Or are you just safe? The question bothered me more than I wanted to admit. Was I happy? Or was I just comfortable in my independence, afraid to risk being hurt again? In February, something happened that forced me to confront those questions. I was at a gallery opening for a friend's art show when I saw him. Brandon. He was across the room, looking older and thinner than I remembered, talking to a young woman who looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. Our eyes met. His face went pale. I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, no satisfaction. Just nothing. He was a stranger who happened to share some history with me. He started walking toward me and I considered leaving. But then I thought, why should I leave? I had every right to be here. More than that, I wanted to be here. I wasn't going to let his presence dictate my actions. Simone, he said when he reached me. Can we talk? I don't think we have anything to talk about. Please. Just 5 minutes. I really looked at him and saw desperation in his eyes. He'd aged badly. There were lines around his mouth that hadn't been there before, gray in his hair, a defeated slump to his shoulders. Fine. 5 minutes. We stepped outside into the cold February air. Brandon shoved his hands in his pockets and wouldn't meet my eyes. I saw the article about your business. He started. In Chicago Magazine. You're doing really well. I am. I'm happy for you. I mean it. I said nothing. I'm sorry, he continued. I know I said it before, but I don't think you believed me. I really am sorry, Simone. I ruined the best thing in my life because I was selfish and stupid and… Brandon, I cut him off gently. I believe you're sorry. I believe you realize what you lost. But it doesn't change anything. What's done is done. I know. I needed you to know that I know I was wrong. Okay. Now I know. He finally looked at me. You look good. Happy. I am happy. Are you seeing anyone? The question was so Brandon still thinking he had a right to know about my life that I almost laughed. That's not your business anymore. Right. Of course. Sorry. He rubbed his face. Tiffany left, after I got out of jail. Took our daughter and moved to her parents' place in Indiana. You have a daughter? Yeah. Emily. She's 6 months old. I see her every other weekend. He said it like it was a prison sentence, not a privilege. Everything fell apart after you left. Everything. I didn't leave, Brandon. You blew up our marriage. There's a difference. I know. I know that. He looked at me with something like desperation. Is there any chance? No. I didn't even let him finish. Whatever you're about to ask, the answer is no. We're done. We've been done for a year. It's time for you to move on. Have you moved on? Really? I thought about my business, my team, my studio. I thought about the therapy sessions where I'd worked through the pain and betrayal. I thought about Costa Rica and surfing and learning to be alone without being lonely. I thought about Devon and the possibility of something new, something healthy, something real. Yes, I said. I really have. Brandon nodded slowly. Then I guess this is really goodbye. It was always goodbye, Brandon. You just didn't want to accept it. I turned and walked back inside without waiting for his response. My hands were shaking slightly, but not from fear or sadness. From relief. I'd seen him, faced him, and felt nothing but the desire to get back to my life. Inside, I found my friend whose art was being displayed. Sorry, I got caught up in something. Everything okay? Yeah. Actually, everything's perfect. The next day I called Devon. Hey, can we talk? Sure. What's up? I saw Brandon last night. My ex-husband. Oh, how did that go? It was fine. More than fine, actually. I realized something. What's that? I took a deep breath. I'm ready. For something real. If you still want that. There was a pause, then Devon said, I'm on my way over. He arrived 30 minutes later with takeout Thai food and a bottle of wine. We sat on my couch, eating pad Thai and talking about what we both wanted from this. I don't want to rush anything, I said. But I also don't want to keep holding back out of fear. Does that make sense? Complete sense. I'm not looking to replace anyone or fix anyone. I just want to get to know you better. The real you, not the you who's trying to protect herself. I can do that, I said. I think. He smiled. Then that's enough for now. We talked late into the night about everything, our pasts, our fears, our hopes. When he finally left around midnight, he kissed me at the door. It was gentle, sweet, and felt like a beginning. That night, lying in bed, I realized something profound. I'd built a whole new life from the ashes of my old one. And this new life was better in every single way. Brandon had tried to destroy me by saying I was replaceable. Instead, he'd freed me to become irreplaceable to myself, to my team, to the clients who trusted me, and maybe, just maybe, to someone who actually deserved me. I fell asleep smiling. I heard about Brandon's downward spiral through the grapevine, Chicago's professional community being smaller than it seemed. My business was flourishing while his life was imploding in slow motion, and I felt no guilt about it. None. He'd made his choices, and now he was living with the consequences. It started with his job. The arrest for fraud had made headlines in local business news. His company had fired him immediately, citing ethics violations. According to Nicole, who heard it from a friend who worked there, security had escorted him out of the building with a box of his belongings while his colleagues watched. Good, I'd said when she told me. Let everyone see what kind of person he really is. Without income and facing legal fees, Brandon had to sell his car. Then his furniture. He'd moved into a tiny apartment in a rough neighborhood, the kind of place I wouldn't have felt safe visiting even in daylight. Tiffany had lasted longer than I expected through the arrest, through the first court date, even through the revelation of his debts. But when she realized there was no money left, when she understood that the man she'd fallen for was broke and unemployed and facing jail time, she'd taken their baby daughter and left. I knew all this not because I was keeping tabs on Brandon, but because he kept trying to reach out. Not to me directly, he knew better after our conversation at the gallery, but through mutual acquaintances, through social media messages I never responded to, through pathetic attempts to get my attention. One evening in early spring, I was working late at the studio when Kira knocked on my office door. Someone's here to see you, she said, looking uncomfortable. Who? He says his name is Brandon. Should I call security? My stomach tightened, but I kept my voice calm. No, it's okay. Tell him I'll be down in 5 minutes. I took those 5 minutes to compose myself, to remember who I was now. Strong. Successful. Free. Brandon couldn't hurt me anymore. He was just a ghost from a past life. When I went downstairs, I found him standing in our lobby, looking around at the exposed brick walls, the modern furniture, the large prints of our best design work. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. "Nice place," he said when he saw me. "You've really done well for yourself." "What do you want, Brandon? Can we talk? Somewhere private? We can talk right here. You have 5 minutes. He glanced around at Kira and Andre, who were pointedly not looking at us but definitely listening. "It's personal. I don't care. Say what you came to say or leave." He sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd seen 1,000 times when he was stressed. "I need help." "No. You didn't even hear what I need help with." "I don't care what you need help with. The answer is no." "Simone, please. I'm about to lose my apartment. I can't afford the child support payments. I can't find work because of the arrest record. I need a loan. Just enough to get back on my feet." I stared at him, genuinely surprised by his audacity. "You're asking me for money? I know how it sounds, but you stole from me. You cheated on me. You told me I was replaceable. And now you're standing in my place of business asking me for money?" My voice was rising and I didn't care. "Are you actually serious right now? I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But I'm trying to be a father to Emily, and I can't do that if I'm homeless. That's not my problem. It could be, if you wanted it to be. We were married for 5 years, Simone. That has to count for something." "It counts for a lesson learned," I said coldly. "It taught me what I'll never accept again. Now get out of my studio. I'm desperate here." "And whose fault is that?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You did this to yourself, Brandon. Every single bit of it. You made these choices. You lied, you stole, you cheated. And now you're facing consequences. That's not my problem to fix." "I thought you were better than this," he said, trying for guilt. "I thought you were compassionate." "I am compassionate. Just not toward men who tried to destroy my life." I walked to the door and held it open. "Leave. And don't come back. If you show up here again, I will call the police." He stood there for a moment and I saw something in his face, realization, maybe, that I really meant it. That I really was done. That no amount of begging or manipulation or guilt-tripping would work. "You've changed," he said quietly. "Yes, I have. I became someone who doesn't let men like you walk all over her." After he left, I stood in the lobby shaking. Not from fear or sadness, but from anger. The absolute nerve of him showing up at my workplace asking for help after everything he'd done. Andre appeared at my side. "You okay, boss?" "Yeah. I'm fine." "That was your ex?" "Unfortunately." "Want me to have a word with security? Make sure he doesn't come back." I looked at Andre, 6'2", broad-shouldered, with a protective streak I appreciated. "That would be great, actually. Thanks." "No problem. Nobody messes with our team." That night, I called Dr. Foster for an emergency session. "He showed up at your work?" she said after I'd explained what happened. "Yes, and asked me for money." "Can you believe that?" "Actually, I can. People who've never had to face real consequences often resort to desperate measures when they finally do. How do you feel about seeing him?" I thought about it. Angry. But also, nothing? Like, I'm angry that he thought that was okay, but I don't feel anything about him as a person anymore. That's progress, Simone. A year ago, seeing him would have devastated you. Now you're just annoyed by the inconvenience. So I'm getting better? You're getting healthier. There's a difference. She smiled. You've built boundaries. You've rebuilt your self-worth. You're not the woman he left anymore. You're someone entirely new. I like who I am now. That's the best revenge there is. Not making him suffer, though, that's a side effect of his own choices, but becoming so complete in yourself that his opinion doesn't matter anymore. Over the next few weeks, I heard through various sources that Brandon's situation was getting worse. He'd lost his apartment and was sleeping on a friend's couch. His court-ordered child support payments were in arrears, and Tiffany was threatening to petition for full custody with no visitation. Part of me felt bad for Emily, the innocent child caught in all this. But I wasn't responsible for Brandon's failures as a father. That was on him. Then in late April, I got a call from Jennifer Murphy. "Simone, I need to give you a heads up. Brandon filed for bankruptcy." "Okay." "He listed you as a creditor. For the debt he incurred with the forged loan and credit cards. But the court already ruled on that. He's supposed to pay me back." "Yes, but bankruptcy might discharge that debt. Depending on how it's classified." She paused. The good news is his criminal conviction for fraud works in our favor. Debts incurred through fraud typically can't be discharged in bankruptcy. So you'll still get your money, it'll just take longer. How much longer? Could be years. He's got nothing now, so even with a payment plan, it'll be minimal amounts. I sighed. I don't even care about the money anymore. I just want him out of my life. I know. Unfortunately, as long as he owes you money, there's a connection. But Simone, look at it this way. He'll spend years paying back what he stole from you. That's justice. She was right. It was justice. But I was tired of this hanging over me. That weekend, Devin and I went for a long walk along the lakefront. It was a beautiful spring day, warm but not hot, with a breeze that smelled like water and possibility. You've been quiet lately, he said. Is everything okay? I told him about Brandon's visit, about the bankruptcy filing, about my frustration that even now, a year later, I couldn't fully escape my ex-husband's shadow. It feels like he's still taking up space in my life, you know? Even though I'm over him, even though I've moved on, he's still there in the background causing problems. Devin was quiet for a moment, then said, "Can I tell you what I see?" Sure. I see a woman who built an amazing business while going through one of the hardest things a person can go through. I see someone who didn't just survive, but thrived. I see someone who's generous with her time and talent, who mentors young designers, who treats her team with respect. I see someone who's learning to trust again, even though she has every reason not to. He stopped walking and turned to face me. Brandon showing up, the bankruptcy, all of that? That's not him taking up space in your life. That's just the last echoes of a life you've already left behind. And every day those echoes get quieter. One day you won't hear them at all. I felt tears prick my eyes. How are you so good at this? At what? At knowing exactly what to say. He smiled. I'm an architect. I'm good at seeing the structure beneath the surface. And your structure? Solid, Simone. He didn't break you. He couldn't. We kissed there on the lakefront path and it felt like sealing a promise. A promise that I was going to be okay. That I already was okay. 2 weeks later, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Tiffany. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I thought you should know. Brandon is in the hospital. He had some kind of breakdown. They think it was a panic attack, but they're keeping him for observation. I stared at the text for a long time. Part of me felt nothing. Part of me felt satisfied that he was suffering. And part of me, the part one wasn't proud of, felt a twinge of concern. I didn't respond to Tiffany. But I did call Dr. Foster. It's okay to feel conflicted, she said. You can acknowledge that someone you once loved is suffering, while also maintaining your boundaries and recognizing that you're not responsible for helping him. I don't want to help him. Then don't. You don't owe him anything. But what if? What if what? What if he hurts himself? That's not on you, Simone. You didn't put him in this situation. His choices did. And you have to protect yourself first. She was right. I knew she was right. I blocked Tiffany's number and went back to my life. Summer arrived, and with it came a professional opportunity I'd never imagined. A major Chicago-based company was looking to rebrand entirely, and my name had come up in their search for designers. The contract would be worth more than my business had made in its first 3 years combined. The interview was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon at their downtown headquarters. I dressed in my power suit, the one that made me feel invincible, and prepared my portfolio like I was preparing for battle. I arrived 15 minutes early as always and waited in the sleek modern lobby. That's when I saw him. Brandon. He was across the lobby, also in a suit, also holding a portfolio. Our eyes met, and I watched the color drain from his face. What were the odds? In a city of 3 million people, we'd both ended up interviewing for the same company on the same day? Actually, knowing Brandon, the odds were exactly what I thought they were. He'd probably seen the job posting and knew I'd be competing for it. This was him trying to sabotage me one last time. I walked over to him, my heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. What are you doing here? I asked quietly. I have an interview. Same as you, I assume. For the design position? For the junior marketing position, actually. But same company. He looked uncomfortable. I didn't know you'd be here. This isn't, I'm not trying to mess with you, Simone. I just need a job. And you couldn't find a job anywhere else in Chicago? Do you know how hard it is to find work with a criminal record? This company was the only one willing to interview me. I thought. He stopped, then started again. I thought if I could show them I've changed, that I'm trying to do better. That's not my problem. I know. I know that. He ran his hand through his hair again, that familiar nervous gesture. Can we just both do our interviews and let them decide? Maybe we'll both get jobs. This is a big company. Before I could respond, a woman in her 40s came out of the elevator, clipboard in hand. Simone Parker? That's me. Great. I'm Rebecca Chin, Director of Marketing. If you'll follow me? I walked away from Brandon without another word. The interview went perfectly. My portfolio spoke for itself: years of strong work, recent high-profile projects, glowing testimonials from clients. Rebecca and two other executives asked smart questions and I gave smart answers. We talked strategy, vision, timeline. By the end of the hour, I could tell they were impressed. We're interviewing a few other candidates, Rebecca said as she walked me out. But between you and me, you're exactly what we're looking for. Expect a call by tomorrow. I thanked her and headed toward the elevators, feeling confident. This was going to happen. This was going to be the project that took my business to the next level. The elevator doors opened and Brandon was inside, clearly waiting to go up for his interview. We stared at each other. Get out, I said. What? Get out of this building. Don't do this interview. I need this job, Simone. And I need this contract. But only one of us deserves it. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low so the security guard at the desk wouldn't hear. You want to know what I told them up there? I told them about my track record, my completed projects, my satisfied clients, my team. What are you going to tell them, Brandon? About how you stole from your wife, about how you went to jail for fraud, about how you destroyed your life and everyone in it. His jaw tightened. I've changed. No, you haven't. You're still trying to take shortcuts. Still trying to ride on other people's success. You knew I was interviewing here and you showed up anyway, hoping to what? Convince them you're the better choice? Hoping they'd feel sorry for you? That's not. Save it. I stepped into the elevator. Do your interview. Tell them whatever lies you want to tell. It won't matter. I'm getting this contract and you're going to leave here with nothing. Just like you deserve. The elevator doors started to close and Brandon put his hand out to stop them. I just want one more chance, he said, and there was real desperation in his voice. One more chance to prove I'm not the monster you think I am. You're not a monster, I said. Monsters have power. You're just a sad man who destroyed his own life and is trying to drag me down with him. But you can't. You couldn't when we were married and you definitely can't now. I hit the door close button and the elevator descended. My hands were shaking by the time I got to my car. Not from fear but from anger and adrenaline. The audacity of him showing up at my interview. The absolute unbelievable audacity. I called Devin. He was there, I said as soon as he picked up. At my interview. Brandon was at my interview. Wait, what? How? He was interviewing for a different position but same company, same day. He claims it was a coincidence but I don't believe him. Are you okay? I took a deep breath. I'm furious, but I'm also confident. I did a great interview, Devin. They loved me. He can't take this from me. Of course he can't. You're brilliant at what you do. I told him off in the elevator. Really told him off. And it felt good. It felt amazing, actually. Devin was quiet for a moment. You know what? I'm proud of you. A year ago, seeing him would have thrown you off. Now you're just annoyed that he wasted your time. Exactly. That's growth, Simone. Real growth. We talked for another 20 minutes until my heart rate returned to normal and I felt steady again. Then I drove back to the studio, determined not to let Brandon ruin my day. The next morning, Rebecca called at 9 a.m. Simone, we'd like to offer you the contract. Your presentation was outstanding, your portfolio speaks for itself, and frankly, you were the only candidate who really understood our vision. I closed my eyes, letting the words wash over me. Thank you. I'm honored. There is one thing I should mention though. We had another applicant, Brandon Parker, who mentioned during his interview that he used to be married to you. My stomach dropped. What did he say? He tried to claim that some of the work in your portfolio was actually his, or that you'd collaborated on projects during your marriage. He implied that you've been taking credit for joint work. Rage, white hot and immediate, flooded through me. That's a lie. We know. We did our due diligence. We called your references, looked up the dates of your projects, verified everything. All of your major work was done either before your marriage or after your separation. He was clearly lying. She paused. We don't hire people who lie in interviews, Miss Parker. We showed him the door immediately after. I felt a fierce satisfaction. Thank you for checking. Of course. We believe in integrity. Which is why we're so excited to work with you. When can you start? We discussed timelines and logistics, and by the time I hung up, I was smiling so hard my face hurt. Brandon had tried one last time to destroy me, to steal my success, to make me small. And he'd failed. Spectacularly. I called a team meeting and shared the news. Kira squealed and hugged me. Andre high-fived me and demanded we celebrate properly. We ordered champagne and pizza and spent the afternoon toasting to the future. That evening, I was still at the studio working on preliminary sketches for the new project, when there was a knock at the door. Security had already left for the day, and I was alone in the building. Through the glass door I saw Brandon. I should have called the police. Should have ignored him. But something in his posture, defeated, broken, made me open the door. "You need to stop showing up places," I said. I know. They told me what you said to them. About checking my claims. About how I lied. You did lie. I know." He looked up at me and I saw tears in his eyes. "I know I lied. I know I've been pathetic and desperate and horrible. I don't know how to fix this, Simone. I don't know how to fix my life. That's not my problem. I know it's not. I know I have no right to be here. But you're the only person who ever believed in me, and I destroyed that. I destroyed everything. And I just needed you to know that I know that now. I know exactly what I lost." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw not the man who'd betrayed me, but a broken person who destroyed his own life through his own choices. I felt no sympathy. No desire to help. Just a cold, clear recognition that this was justice. "You're right," I said quietly. "You did lose everything. You had a woman who loved you, supported you, believed in you. You had a comfortable life, a home, a future. And you threw it all away because you were selfish and entitled and cruel. I know. And now you want me to what? Feel sorry for you? Help you? Give you some wisdom that will magically fix your life? No. I just wanted you to know that you were right. That night when you said I'd realize what I lost? You were right. I think about it every day. I think about how different things could have been if I'd just appreciated what I had. But you didn't. And now it's too late." He nodded slowly. "Can I ask you one thing?" "What? Are you happy? Really happy?" I thought about my business, thriving and growing. I thought about my team, talented and loyal. I thought about my studio, my home, my independence. I thought about Devin, patient and kind and real. I thought about waking up every morning without that weight of walking on eggshells, of trying to be enough for someone who would never think I was enough. "Yes," I said. "I'm happier than I've ever been. Happier than I ever was with you." Something in his face crumpled. "Good. That's good. You deserve that." "I know I do. I should go." He took a step back. "I won't bother you again. I promise. I just needed to say this. To tell you that you were right about everything. Brandon?" He turned back, hope flickering in his eyes. "Don't come back here. Don't contact me. Don't show up at places I might be. This is it. This is goodbye. For real this time." The hope died. "Okay. Goodbye, Simone." I watched him walk away, shoulders slumped, defeated. And I felt nothing. No victory, no sadness, no anger. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I'd survived, thrived, and come out the other side stronger than ever. I went back inside, locked the door, and returned to my sketches. Brandon was finally, truly, completely in my past. And my future had never looked brighter. 1 year after my divorce was finalized, I woke up in my new house, not the house I'd shared with Brandon, but a place that was entirely mine. I'd sold the old house 6 months ago, unable to shake the feeling that his ghost lingered in every room. This new place was a modern townhouse in Lincoln Park, with huge windows that let in floods of natural light and a rooftop deck with views of the city. It was perfect. It was mine. And I'd paid for it entirely with money from my business. I made coffee and stood on that rooftop deck, watching Chicago wake up beneath me. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. It was September, my favorite month, when summer heat gave way to crisp autumn air and the city seemed to exhale. My phone buzzed. A text from Devin. "Happy anniversary. 1 year of freedom looks good on you." I smiled. Devin had remembered. He remembered everything, the small things, the important things, the details that mattered. We'd been officially together for 6 months now, taking things slow and steady. He had his own place, I had mine. We spent weekends together, shared dinners and conversations and lazy Sunday mornings, but we both valued our independence. We were two whole people choosing to share our lives, not two half people trying to complete each other. It was healthy. It was right. It was nothing like my marriage to Brandon had been. I texted back, "Thank you for being patient with me." "Thank you for letting me in," he replied. Later that morning, I had a meeting at the studio. The tech company rebrand was complete and launching next week, and we were already fielding inquiries from companies who'd heard about our work. The startup incubator had referred us to 3 new clients. We were booked solid for the next 6 months. Kira and Andre were already there when I arrived, working on mock-ups for a new project, a non-profit that worked with survivors of domestic violence. We'd taken the project pro bono, all of us agreeing that some work was more important than money. "Morning, boss," Andre said, looking up from his computer. "Check this out." He showed me his latest design and I caught my breath. It was stunning, powerful without being aggressive, hopeful without being naive. It captured exactly what the organization stood for. "Andre, this is incredible." "You think?" "I wasn't sure about the color palette." "It's perfect. They're going to love it." Kira came in carrying coffees for everyone. "Big day today, right? The Chicago Business Journal interview?" I'd almost forgotten. A journalist was coming to interview me about being a successful woman entrepreneur in Chicago's design scene. It was the kind of exposure I dreamed about when I first started my business. Right. 2 o'clock. I should probably figure out what I'm going to say. "Just be yourself," Kira said. "You're inspiring without trying to be. That's what makes you great." The interview went well. The journalist, a woman named Sandra, asked thoughtful questions about building a business, overcoming obstacles, and advice for young entrepreneurs. "What would you say to someone starting out, especially women in male-dominated fields?" she asked. I thought about it. "I'd say that your value doesn't depend on other people recognizing it." I spent years trying to prove myself to people who were never going to see me clearly. The moment I started building for myself on my own terms, everything changed. Success isn't about making other people believe in you. It's about believing in yourself so completely that their doubt becomes irrelevant. Sandra smiled. "That's powerful. Can I ask about your personal life? I read that you went through a divorce recently." I'd known this question was coming. Jennifer had prepared me for it, reminded me that I could decline to answer anything personal. But I didn't want to hide anymore. I did. And it was the hardest thing I've ever been through. But it was also the catalyst for everything good in my life now. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the best thing, because it forces you to rebuild yourself stronger than you were before. "Do you think you would have achieved this level of success if you'd stayed married?" "No, absolutely not. I was holding myself back to make room for someone who didn't deserve that consideration. Now I'm not holding back at all." The article came out 2 weeks later with the headline, "Rising Star: How Simone Parker Built a Design Empire from Ashes." It was on the cover of the business section with a photo of me in my studio, looking confident and powerful. Nicole called me the moment it hit newsstands. "You're famous? Like actually famous." "It's one article. It's the Chicago Business Journal. Everyone reads this. You're going to get so much business from this." She was right. Within days, my email was flooded with inquiries. Companies wanting quotes, design firms wanting to partner, young designers asking for mentorship. It was overwhelming and exciting and terrifying all at once. One email stood out, though. It was from Patricia Holmes, the colleague who'd referred me to Jennifer Murphy a year ago. "Simone, I just read your article and I'm so proud of you. I knew when we talked last year that you were strong, but seeing how far you've come is truly inspiring. Thank you for being proof that we can survive and thrive." Patricia. I wrote back immediately, "Thank you for the referral to Jennifer. You quite literally changed my life. I owe you lunch, Simone." That evening, Devin took me out to celebrate. We went to a rooftop restaurant with views of the city, and he ordered champagne. "To Simone Parker," he said, raising his glass, "who proved that some people really are irreplaceable." I clinked my glass against his. "I like that." "I have something for you," he said, pulling out a small wrapped box. My heart skipped. It wasn't jewelry box shaped. Thank God I wasn't ready for that conversation yet. But it was clearly something significant. Inside was a keychain with a single key attached. "It's a key to my place," Devin explained. "I'm not asking you to move in or anything, but I want you to have it. I want you to feel like you can come and go, like my space is your space too. If you want it." I looked at the key, feeling emotions I couldn't quite name. A year ago, the idea of someone giving me access to their space would have terrified me. It would have felt like obligation, like expectation, like pressure. Now it just felt like trust. "I want it," I said, taking the key. "Thank you. Thank you for taking a chance on me. On us." We kissed, and I felt grateful for everything, the pain that had led me here, the strength I'd discovered, the life I'd built, and the possibility of something real with someone who saw me clearly. 2 months later, in November, I got an unexpected call from Jennifer Murphy. Simone, I have news. Brandon violated his payment plan for the restitution he owes you. Okay. The court has issued a warrant for his arrest. He's going back to jail. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness, just indifference. How long? Probably 6 months, maybe less with good behavior. But Simone, this means the bankruptcy protection is void. When he gets out, he'll owe you the full amount plus penalties. I don't care about the money anymore, Jennifer. I just want him out of my life. I understand. But the good news is this is the last legal connection between you two. Once this is resolved, you're completely free. Completely free. Those words felt like magic. Thank you. For everything you've done for me. It was my pleasure. You were a dream client, prepared, rational, strong. Not everyone handles divorce that well. After we hung up, I sat in my office and thought about Brandon. Somewhere in Chicago, he was facing arrest again, consequences piling up on consequences. His daughter would grow up barely knowing him. Tiffany had moved on, according to the last thing I'd heard, engaged to someone new. Brandon's life was the rubble of his own choices. And I felt no guilt about that. I hadn't put him there. He put himself there. That weekend, Nicole and I went shopping for the holidays. Walking through the bustling stores, surrounded by decorations and music and crowds, I felt light. Happy. Present. You seem different, Nicole observed, watching me try on a coat. Different how? I don't know. Settled? Like you've finally figured out who you are. Maybe I have. It looks good on you. She grinned. So does Devin. Are you in love with him? The question surprised me. Was I? I don't know. Maybe. I care about him a lot. But I'm not rushing to label it. That's fair. You've earned the right to take your time. Do you think I'll ever get married again? I asked suddenly. Nicole considered this. I think if you meet someone who deserves you, someone who adds to your life instead of taking from it, then maybe. But I don't think you need to get married to be happy. You've already proven you can build an amazing life on your own. She was right. Marriage wasn't a goal anymore, wasn't something I needed to feel complete. If it happened with the right person, great. If not, I was still whole. Christmas came and I spent it with family, my parents, my brother, Nicole and her boyfriend. Devin joined us for dinner, fitting in seamlessly with his easy humor and genuine interest in everyone's stories. My mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. I like him. Me too. He's good for you. But more importantly, you're good for you. You've become the woman I always knew you could be. Thanks, Mom. I mean it. When you called me about the divorce, I was worried. But you surprised me. You surprised everyone. You didn't just survive, you bloomed. That night, lying in bed in my childhood room, Devin had gone home, both of us agreeing it was too soon for family overnight visits. I thought about the past year and a half. Everything I'd been through, everything I'd overcome, everything I'd built. Brandon had tried to destroy me. Had told me I was replaceable. Had made me question my worth. Instead, he'd freed me to discover just how valuable I really was. New Year's Eve, Devin and I went to a party at Patricia's house, my client who'd become a friend. The party was full of successful, interesting people, and I found myself enjoying conversations about art, design, business, life. At midnight, Devin kissed me as fireworks exploded over the city. Happy New Year, Simone. Happy New Year. What are you hoping for this year? I thought about it. More of this. More growth, more success, more moments like this. What about you? I'm hoping you'll let me spend more of those moments with you. I smiled. I think that can be arranged. As January rolled around, bringing with it the second anniversary of that awful night when Brandon told me I was replaceable, I took myself out to dinner. Alone. Intentionally. I sat in a nice restaurant, ordered an expensive meal, and reflected on everything that had changed. The woman I'd been 2 years ago seemed like a stranger, small, afraid, trying so hard to be enough for someone who would never see her value. The woman I was now. She was powerful, independent, successful, happy. I raised my glass of wine in a silent toast to myself, to surviving, to thriving, to proving that the worst thing someone says to you can become the catalyst for the best version of yourself. My phone buzzed. A text from Kira, emergency. The client moved up the deadline. Can you come in? I laughed. Even my emergencies now were the good kind, too much work, too much success, too many opportunities. I paid my bill and headed to the studio, ready to tackle whatever came next. Because that's who I was now. Someone who faced challenges head-on. Someone who built empires from ashes. Someone who was, without question, irreplaceable. Not because of what I meant to others, but because of what I meant to myself. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.